Tonight on 3 News, John Key's plan to avoid scenes like this, what employees will have to give to save their jobs.
And how many jobs are out there for those who are forced to go? A special 3 News investigation.
The pair behind the country's biggest employee fraud pay the price in years in jail.
And family planning decides to try and make it easier to get abortion pills.
This is 3 News with Sacha McNeil and Mike McRoberts.
Kia ora, good evening. People prepared to switch to a 9-day fortnight will be paid just over $60 by the government for the 10th day. But on that 10th day, they won't be forced to undertake some form of job training as originally outlined in the Job Summit. Instead, they can do whatever they like, from going to the beach to the pub. The 9-day working fortnight was outlined in detail by the Prime Minister, John Key, who said the aim is to save jobs during the recession by allowing companies to lower their wage bills. Political editor Duncan Garner has the details and he joins us live now from Parliament. Duncan.
Good evening, Mike. Well, this will cost the government about $20 million in the first year, and John Key expects about 25,000 New Zealand workers to be involved in the scheme at any one time. But look, you'll only be eligible to sign up to the scheme if you work for a company that has 100 staff or more. John Key wasn't expecting to be announcing the 9-day fortnight just a fortnight after the idea emerged at his Job Summit. But he's on a mission: save companies, save jobs, stop layoffs.
It's important to see this as a last resort. This is essentially buying a bit of time.
Key's rushing because he's been told some businesses are on the brink of announcing mass redundancies. That's why this is aimed at large companies at this stage.
As we understand it from the unions, they've had approaches from a number of companies who voluntarily want to do this with their employees.
So the government will pay you $62.50 to take the day off. That's the compensation for lost wages, equivalent to 5 hours of the minimum wage. You can only go on it for 6 months. During that time, you cannot be laid off. You will not be forced to go into training or upskill. You can, if you like, take the day off and go surfing. Key says forcing people to train was too complex.
And as soon as you start trying to work through the practicalities of monitoring it, it becomes so complex that you just can't get off base one in day one.
More than 1,600 companies with more than 100 employees or more will qualify. That's around 580,000 workers. The scheme ends on December the 31st, 2010, and Key accepts most people signing up will face a pay cut. He's hoping some businesses show some generosity.
And it's our hope that we'll end up with a scheme where employers make some contribution for the lost hours, where employees give up some hours for free, and where the Crown kicks in its contribution at the rate that we've outlined.
Labor says too many people will miss out.
I think it's rather unfair that they'll be excluded from this sort of assistance.
A scheme for workers and businesses employing fewer than 100 staff is being designed. It should be announced in the coming months. And Mike, John Key also used today's news conference to sort of breathe and talk some life into the New Zealand economy to stop all the doom and gloom merchants, as he said. He said there is some signs of life in the New Zealand economy. He talked about sheep prices now being over $100. Some areas of the property market, he says, are now showing some signs of life in some areas around the country. He also talked about interest rates tomorrow. They are likely to come down. The Reserve Bank Governor Alan Bollard is likely to move first thing in the morning to bring interest rates down. So he's just trying to stop the sort of the doom and gloom merchants and try and talk some confidence into the New Zealand economy for New Zealand workers and also for overseas investors. Mike.
Duncan, thank you. The speedy development of the 9-day working fortnight reflects the pressure put on the government by the trade union movement and big business. Tristram Clayton reports on who's been pushing for the scheme and why.
Two of the scheme's key architects arrived in Auckland this afternoon. On the left, CTU President Helen Kelly. On the right, Paul Mackay from Business New Zealand. Poles apart normally, today united in action.
So we really welcome the urgency that's been given to this project in particular from the summit. Well, there's nothing like a crisis for bringing people together.
The pair were quick to confirm that the policy was pushed through, partly because of the desperate financial situation of a handful of big companies.
Now, who are they exactly?
Well, I'm not going to name who they are, but certainly things are changing very, very quickly in the economy, and we are getting companies saying, bring this thing on, we will use it, it will be useful, but we need it now.
Kelly says it's no secret it's the construction, manufacturing and retail industries who are likely to be the first to sign up for the new scheme. Already several smaller companies have been hit. More than 100 workers at Irwin's Tools in Wellsford, about 240 jobs are to go in Nelson, and in South Otago 65 jobs are vanishing. It's unlikely those companies or their employees would have benefited from the 9-day fortnight, but it is providing hope for the future.
Almost all of those who have said that they might have to lose people are very keen on the idea of having some assistance in saving those jobs. So we're expecting that there will be good conversation around this. We're expecting we can create some value. The government's made a start, we've got to finish it off.
Amidst all the talk of layoffs, perhaps it's worth noting many companies are doing just fine. We spoke to several today, including Telecom, Foodstuffs and Progressive Enterprises, who all said business for them is strong. Progressive even talked of hiring staff. Tristram, Clayton, 3 News.
The first stop for many people who lose their jobs is Work and Income. It has hundreds of jobs available in the main centres, but would you want to do them? Sacha Aston has been finding out what's on offer.
There are 34,000 people on the unemployment benefit and looking for work. That job search may be hard, but not impossible.
Work and Income get between 3,000 to 5,000 new vacancies each month. And in February, we got just over 5,000 new vacancies. And as of today, we have just over 6,000 on our books.
So where are they? Well, there are 700 in Auckland, 200 in Wellington, 200 in Christchurch, and from Dunedin South, there are 400 vacancies. Outside of the cities, the pool shrinks. From Campbell to Kaitaia in Northland, there are just 45 jobs. And on Waiheke Island, just the one. That job happens to be for a janitor, but that's not the only kind of work available.
Some of the skilled roles will be office management, project management and account management, just to name a few.
Though not everyone finds the same work they're used to doing.
A lot of them have been in these positions for a long time, and it's quite disappointing to find that they're in the situation they're in and that they may have to look at something that they perhaps never thought they would.
In Dunedin, Rachael McDonald says that sounds familiar.
My experience is photography and nannying, but there hasn't been a huge amount, so I'm sort of having to look at different fields. But Work and Income have been really supportive and encouraging.
The Minister for Social Development has some sobering and straightforward advice.
Get a job, any job, keep your job. You know, there's a bit of digging deeper needed here. We're not in the same market.
But still, not everyone finds it easy.
There's a few jobs, but not many people take beneficiaries.
There's still lots of jobs in the paper and on the internet, but there's probably more and more people applying for stuff, you know.
Just a decade ago, 161,000 people were out of work. Things may not be that bad now, but Work and Income say it's still time to get creative about staying employed. Sacha Aston, 3 News.
The government's confirmed it will cut contributions to the National Superannuation Fund, known as the Cullen Fund. The details will come in the May budget. The fund invests widely in global share markets, and like those markets, it's been taking some big losses. Scott Campbell reports.
For the first time in months, the US stock market rallied, thanks to banking giant Citigroup making a profit. But while the traders celebrated, the New Zealand Super Fund continued to lose billions on international stocks. And that saw the government confirming it will now reduce its contribution to the fund.
The government will be borrowing tens of billions of dollars. Now, the question for the government is simply whether, for a period of time, it pays less into the fund to take the pressure off its borrowing requirements.
The government borrows $50 million a week to make its contributions. Key says from July 1st, 2007 to January 1st, the Crown paid $3.4 billion into the fund. That was all lost. Since January, a further $1.3 billion has been put in. It too gone. A total loss of $4.7 billion in 19 months.
now is probably the time to invest because asset prices are much, much cheaper. So if they were to use additional money to invest, they could make up the losses quite quickly.
But Key says lower contributions won't mean a cut in the pension.
I've made it quite clear that if superannuation was to be cut, and I'll make the same claim here in the House today, I will resign as Prime Minister and resign as a Member of Parliament.
The contribution cut will be announced in the May budget. Scott Campbell, 3 News.
The Retirement Commission wants to change its name, but not to either of the ones offered by a select committee today. The suggestions were the Golden Years and Waiting for God. Commissioner Diana Crossan said the new name would need to reflect what the Commission actually does, like running their financial advice website Sorted.
Abortion pills could soon be more widely available for New Zealand women. The Family Planning Council has applied for a licence to distribute the pills, which eliminate the need for a surgical procedure. Rachael Morton reports.
Paul Clark has spent 3 hours a day protesting against abortions outside Wellington Hospital for the past 10 years. He was there again today, angry and disappointed to hear that Family Planning has applied for consent to distribute abortion pills.
It's a bloody scandal.
Why are you so passionate about this personally?
Because they're killing little babies. And we can't be sympathetic towards that. There's something wrong with a person.
Currently, the pills are available in just 6 clinics in New Zealand, but if Family Planning gets consent, they would be available in an additional 30 clinics. The pills, known as RU486, can be taken in the first 9 weeks of pregnancy. They cause a miscarriage, eliminating the need for a surgical procedure.
Many women will still choose to have a surgical abortion, so it is about offering that choice. There is no great difference around safety.
Pro-life organisation Voice for Life says its biggest concern is women's health, as women are likely to be without medical assistance when the miscarriage happens.
It sounds very easy. Go to the clinic, take a series of pills and your problem is gone. It is quite a complex procedure, and I think medical professionals should be actually doing more research and pointing out the dangers to women.
About 18,000 New Zealand women have an abortion each year, and other pro-life organisations say they're afraid the pills will dramatically increase that number, particularly among young women. But Family Planning says it's just about giving women more options. Rachael Morton, 3 News.
In the news ahead, we report on New Zealand's worst road accident in a year and how long in jail for the pair who ripped off $17 million from the Otago District Health Board.